This is going to be a video on how to use the reprogramming tools that we have here at the college. And so I'm going to walk you through the process. We're not actually going to reprogram a PCM for the simple fact that when you reprogram a PCM, you need to be fixing a problem. If you end up reprogramming a PCM just to reprogram it, you will probably end up causing a problem. So I don't want to cause a problem with the engine that we have here. I'm going to be using the Pontiac Grand Am engine that's on a stand, and I'll be using our Cardac 3 and our other Cardac reprogramming tool. So we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, these are our two tools that we have. This first one is the DrewLink, and it's a smaller unit, and these are just both pass-through units that we use to program the cars. Now these pass-through units, they plug into the car and then they plug into the PC. And this one here is for doing older vehicles. I think it's mostly for, like, I'm guessing BMW. It's got that kind of a connector on there and those kind of tools. And then our other tool that we have is the Cardac 3. This is the one that we'll probably be using mostly. This is also a pass-through tool. So it plugs into the car and it also plugs into the laptop. So those are the two tools that we have. Okay, the hardware. First of all, we're going to hook the hardware up. So I've got the Cardac 3 plugged in, and you can see the light blinking saying that it's all good and ready to go. And then I've got the one cable plugged in here that goes over and plugs into the PC. The other cable plugs in on the other side of the Cardac, and it goes over and plugs into the DLC. Now the software, I don't know whether you can see it or not on the camera, but it's the little toolbox on the laptop. So we're going to go ahead and open that. There's the toolbox, and then it'll load the program, and then what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to tell it which tool we're using. So we come to this screen here, so we're going to activate the drop-down menu. We're going to use the Cardac 3 and auto login, and that'll get us logged into the car. Okay, I want to show you a little bit about the software. So this first page that comes up is news and announcements. So this is new things that come up, like they're kind of like TSBs but for reprogramming. And so you can look through these, and this is the date right over here that's listed when they came out. So it's good information to have. So if you're trying to solve a problem on a vehicle, it's a good idea to take a minute and scroll down through some of this information, and you may find an answer to your problem right here. So really good information to have. Not a good idea to look through that. A couple other things I wanted to show you is some of these soft tabs up here at the top. So this is under the general tab, and that's where this comes in. Then you have a sales tab, and that just tells you different products and stuff that are available from Cardac. And then diagnostics is where I want to go right now. So we're going to head into diagnostics. Over here on this side over here, this actually gives you a step-by-step on how to how to access the diagnostics. But over here gives you a list of the different things that are available. On this particular one, this is a generic OBD2, so there's not a whole lot available. But we'll go ahead and look at it. So the first one here is diagnostic trouble codes. So we click on that, and it'll tell me there will be a window that pops up that says turn the key on. When I look at here, I want to read DTCs. So click on that one. It says please turn the ignition key on. The only trouble code that's in here is a P0440, which is an evaporative emission control system problem. And so, but anyway, this is one area where you can look at DTCs. You go down to the next menu item over here on this side of the scale, which is vehicle information. We're going to click on that, and it'll ask me up here at the top, request service data or vehicle data. And it'll tell me to turn the key on, which I've got the key on already, and then it'll gather the information, and then it will give me a bunch of information. It'll tell me that I can turn the key off now, So to save the battery, you can turn the ignition switch off while you look at the information. But what this does, this gives you like the VIN number right here. It also gives you a calibration ID, which is the 12224924. You may want to write that down or take a screenshot of it just so that you can remember that for future. And then it'll also give us a message count for calibration verification. It'll also give us verification numbers. So the ones that we need to worry about though is the VIN number and the calibration ID for the PCM. Next, we're going to come over here to the vehicle monitors and emissions. So we'll click on that button, and it'll tell me to turn the ignition on. When I check monitors here, so check monitors, and I'll turn the ignition on. Yeah, okay. Then it'll gather information, and it'll tell me to turn the ignition off. This gives us, this is basically the Mode 6 data without the test results. So over here on the right-hand side of the screen, you got these green check marks. The green check marks mean that the monitor has run and it's complete. So that's the fuel system, the comprehensive component monitoring, the oxygen sensor. There's no DTCs related to emissions. MIL light is off. And then the red X's down here are the ones that have not run. So these are monitors that are incomplete. So if you've done a repair on a vehicle, say you've replaced an oxygen sensor or something, you can go into this section right here and you can look and see if the oxygen sensor has been tested. And if there's a green check mark there, then the oxygen sensor has been tested and it works. So if there's a red X there, then that means that the monitor has not run for whatever reason. So anyway, so that's the monitor side of this. So let's go into this vehicle that I'm working on is a domestic vehicle. It's Pontiac, made by General Motors. So that would be North America. So we're going to go to the North America tab right up here, and we're going to click on that and see what's available here. So over here on North America, we've got North American Acura, Audi, BMW, Chrysler. I know some of these cars are actually foreign cars, but because if they're set up to run in North America, then you'll find them here. So we're going to go down here to GM, down here at the very bottom. And these are the items that are available for us here. So first of all, here's a website. Let's go to the website. So this is AC Delco, and they call it TIS, which is Technical Delivery System, or TDS, Technical Delivery System. So that's what they're calling it. And over here, what you can do is if you scroll down through here, you can sign up to be a reprogrammer with these guys, and then you can access the new programs to reprogram your PCM with. You can sign up and you can access them all the time. And the way you access them is you buy a subscription, and for the light duty GM Global, 3 days is $57, 1 month is $227, and 1 year is $575. So if you're doing a lot of reprogramming and different things like that, you might want to sign up for the 1 year. If you're only trying to fix one car, you sign up for the 3 days. There is also, if you go to the website at the back of the chapter that we talked about in an earlier chapter on reprogramming, if you go to the back of the chapter, there's a website there where you can actually sign up, or you can purchase a reprogram update for one vehicle, and that's actually even cheaper than the $57. So that's the website portion of this software. Then we come down here to GM information. So let's go to the GM information and see what's there. With the GM information, you've got current issues. So this is like things that people are seeing around the country. Java settings, which is your computer settings for your laptop, and important news. So you can poke around with some of these things. So what I want to do is I want to look at the calibration lookup. That's the important one that I want to go to there. So hit the calibration lookup, and what that does is it pops open a website where I can actually look up the calibration ID for the vehicle. So what we're going to do, okay, so I've got my VIN number typed in there, so I'm going to get the calibration ID. So I click on that little box, and that's the VIN number. So what I want to do is I want to get the calibration ID for powertrain control module. So I'm going to click on that drop down, and then I'm going to hit next, and then it's going to ask me, do I want to do some programming? Yes. So click on the programming, click next, and this gives me all the calibration IDs. So I'm going to make this window. So what I want to do is I want to compare my numbers and see which calibration is the most current. So if you remember, I wrote down the calibration ID that I had on that previous screen, and compare it with the numbers here, and it looks like the calibration that I have is the most current one, because if you look at these numbers here, these are all ascending numbers, and this is the top one, so that's the current one that I have in there. So now what I can do is I can look at that's the part number, and I can look at the calibration ID and see whether or not I need to do an update. This one here, this is the videos tab, and I'm going to click on the videos tab and show you what's going on with that. With the videos tab, what it does is it gives me step-by-step instructions for reprogramming. So this is using the GM SPS programming, this is using the Tech2 Win programming, and this is using the GDS2 programming. So that kind of walks you a little bit through the software part of the reprogramming process. What I want to do now is talk a little bit more about what are some of the things you need to know about reprogramming a PCM. Number one of the first things that you need to really pay attention to is if you lose power anytime during the reprogramming process, you can actually render that computer stupid. So in other words, it destroys the PCM that's in the vehicle, and you'll have to buy a new PCM in order to make the vehicle run again. So you want to make sure that the power is not lost. That's both with your computer and also with the car itself. So with your computer, the laptop, you have to be able to turn off your screensavers, your theft, or your antivirus software and different things like that. So you need to turn all that stuff off so that your computer has no chance of going to sleep or powering down or something like that during the reprogramming process. The other thing we need to do is we need to make sure that our vehicle has got enough battery power. So on this one, what I've done is I've hooked up the jumper battery. So we've got a jumper battery right here on the cart, and I've hooked it up to the battery, and this battery on the cart is at full charge. I already checked it before I started this process. And then we hooked it up to this battery, and so that way if this battery runs low on power, I've still got this one that's still feeding it. So I should not lose power on this vehicle at all when I'm doing a reprogram. Couple of things to remember is battery charger is not a good battery keep alive that you need to use on reprogramming a PCM. So let's take a look and see what that looks like. This is a battery charger, and this cannot be used when you're trying to reprogram a PCM to keep the battery alive. The way battery chargers work, if you remember back from the chapter that we covered this in, when battery chargers are hooked up to a battery and they're charging the battery, they pulse the battery with electricity. So you'll see almost an AC signal being pulsed into the battery, which can actually interrupt the reprogramming process. So do not use this to maintain battery voltage when you're reprogramming a PCM. This is also a battery charger, so you do not want to use this battery charger or a battery charger like this when you're reprogramming a PCM. One last final note before I cut the video, and that is if we do have a vehicle that comes through the program here shortly that needs to be reprogrammed, I will videotape it so you can actually see the process. But the process for reprogramming a PCM is no different really than updating your cell phone. So if you have a cell phone, what your cell phone's going to do is it'll send you a notice saying, hey, there's an update available, and you go into the app store or wherever it is, your settings, and usually with most cell phones, you set it up so that it will it'll happen during the night when you're not using your phone. And what it does is it downloads the software from the supplier, and then it uploads it into the memory on your phone. And so it's a similar process to reprogram a PCM in a car as it is with your cell phone. And a lot of times, most of the time when you're updating your cell phone, it will tell you to plug it in if your battery voltage is too low. Same thing with your car. You need to make sure that battery voltage doesn't drop below a certain threshold, otherwise it'll damage the PCM. So hopefully this helps. I know it wasn't a very in-depth or thorough video, but at least hopefully it'll give you an idea of what it takes to reprogram a PCM.